You're listening to Open for Discussion, where, man, y'all probably shouldn't have said that. It tends to happen. Let's start the show.
715 East Music Group.
Welcome to Open for Discussion, where any and everything is on the table to be discussed. I'm your host, Albert, and of course, I got my brothers from another mother. I got my boy B, a.k.a. Diddy Rowe.
Shalom.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow. All right.
I got my boy Cleet the Geek.
What it do?
And always, of course, with the Mr. Extra Opinion is my boy G-Dub.
Wow.
Good morning.
Now, today's show, we're going to do something a little special. The topic that we have coming in is basically about some of the difficulties you face with marriage, combining families, and situations like that. And what better guest to have on the show than our lovely wives? I would like to introduce my wife.
Hey, y'all.
That's Miss Adrian, Miss Snyder, if you're nasty.
Wow. All right.
All right. Yeah.
So anyone who addresses her as Miss Snyder,
Mess me up the rest of my life.
Adrian, I'm
Disgusting.
Come on now.
tell the kids Adrian. Just call her Adrian.
That's my
Never
girl.
call her
That's
this
my
time.
girl. Babe, can you give a little breakdown, synopsis? How long we been together? How long we been happily together?
Long time. 13 years, 15 years,
Jesus
16 years.
Lord.
How long is it?
Oh my goodness.
Which one
Been
is it?
married 13 years. We've been together for 18 years.
Yes, we have.
And we've been happily married for about 7.
Yes.
And it's not her. It was all me.
It was
So
all
I'm definitely going to take the non-credit for that. I'm going to slide it over to my boy Brian, a.k.a. Diddy Rowe. Go ahead and introduce your lovely bride.
Tell them who you are, Queen. Don't give them your government name, though. Your government name.
God.
Go ahead and tell them.
Hey y'all, good morning. This is Merlandi.
That's
Mimi.
clearly the government.
Still gave the government name. My social is.
Sorry, babe. You good.
Nothing wrong with my name.
No, but I didn't want you to put your name out there in the government because this stuff.
Welcome to the marriage edition of this podcast.
Oh, gosh.
Moving on.
All right. Go ahead. Tell them about how long you've been graced with me, babe.
It's been great.
Just
Well-
with each other.
He's been upgraded for about 8 years now.
there we go.
Come on. Yes.
All right.
And married for about 6 years, almost 7.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
Right on.
All right.
All right, Cleet the Geek. Come on, man.
All right. This is my beautiful wife, Kim.
Hey y'all.
Why you went Barry White on him, man?
Well, this is my morning, bro. Brad.
Morning, bro.
I see your brain is off, too.
You see it's early, right? Yeah, my morning voice, sorry, it hasn't fell off yet. So,
It hasn't felt.
yeah, normally, y'all know I have the
Right,
morning
let it go.
voice, and
Yeah,
then
dog,
it normally
we with
wears
you.
off.
That guy's an idiot.
Anyway, go ahead, babe. Tell them about us. You know, our whole story, whatever. Well, not the whole story.
Not
but
the whole story.
quick and short.
We've been together 13 years, married 8.5 years. Or together 12, I think. 12 years this year.
I guess.
Yeah.
Dang.
And together for 8.5 years.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
Thank y'all for having me.
Come on now.
Yeah, you're here with
And-
us, guy.
Come on, G-Dub.
This is my wife. Her name is Sabrina. She'll introduce herself though.
Wow, that was enthusiastic.
Wow, I'm so sorry. I just want to apologize to everyone for how my husband is acting. He don't know no better. But we've been together for, let's see, our first date was 2009. 10.
Dub know the hours.
10? Oh, no. Go ahead, babe. 2009. You're right. We'll be married 8 years this year.
That's good stuff.
7 years, 7 months,
Oh, gosh.
6 days, 8 hours.
Do
That's
we
how
really
long
know
we've
that
been
that's accurate?
I mean, I don't know if that's truly accurate, man. Everything.
I never check it, so let me just throw it out there.
Say it again.
He just pulled it up on the website. Yes, he did.
Do the math. All right. So, Al, go ahead and continue.
I thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And like I said, today we just want to talk about just some of the situations that pops up especially when you're, I would say, integrating. I wouldn't say we have believers and then the not so into the believers. They still believe in God, but their families still do what they want to do. So I just want to discuss some of that, kind of see how everybody has handled that situation. Now, I know two of the couples here, they kind of had a smooth transition, smooth integration because both families, for the most part, are deep into, deep into their beliefs. But there's a couple of us here that we may run into a problem, or two, or three,
Every now and then.
or 4 or 5. So I just want to go ahead and let you guys speak on that. Of course, I'm gonna start with my boy Cleet the Geek. 'Cause
Yeah,
just like man, kind of explain, kind of let everybody know how some of the difficulties that you face, just in celebrations, because where as far as a cookout or you know what I mean, cookout, they want you to come down for Thanksgiving, they want you to come for Christmas, or we having a 4th of July barbecue, stuff like that. It's like how do you handle that situation being that you have certain beliefs and knowing that you may face some resistance going to see, it is what it is, going to see family.
Yeah. Well, let's just clear the air. There's none of those events happening. so it's not like I have anything to turn down. Arvin and I joke about it all the time, but, you have different family dynamics. He was mentioning some of the people here. My wife, I think they have a really strong family. So I've been blessed over the last 8-10 years to be around them. But my experience, I have a very divided family. So, a lot of the the life experiences or life celebrations, you always have that awkwardness where it's like you have representation from one side of the family, but zero from your side. So it's something that you navigate
like child
through.
Christening.
Yeah, your graduations, your kids. Now that we have kids, things that the kids are doing, you don't have their representation there, and it could be a little difficult at times.
On graduations, you did have representation.
Yeah, but you don't have like
Your
your,
mom and-
representation.
Oh, I know, but your mom and dad came. That was big, though.
Well, my graduation, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about like that was like what, 9 years ago. We talking like what?
They did come to
When you got to think
But
about
yeah,
it, it's
I
too
mean,
long.
It's not like you didn't have nobody there.
Yeah. And then like for instance, we had a baby shower for our first kid, and my uncle and my dad came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when you're like counting on one hand, you're like, oh my God, someone showed up. It's a situation that you grow up and live with, but it's like I said, I think when you're blessed to have surrogates, you're able to get through it, and it doesn't sting as much, but in the moment it can have its, you can have those moments, so.
Talk about the that baby shower again, Cleet. The first one. How you felt?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was overwhelmed because I'll set up the scenario. My son and Wayne and Sabrina's kid, they're 5 weeks apart. So we have this grandiose baby shower in West Palm Beach.
And he's a man saying he's having a baby shower. That's on the record.
That's right. I enjoyed it. All right. My first kid, man. What you want?
Man, I respect that, man.
No, he doesn't.
I don't see his face. He does. Anyway, man. So we had the baby shower, and we have representation from Kim and Bree, as you may know, they're sisters. So you have representation from their family, and then Wayne had a great amount of representation from his family. So the room was full, and then it was my mom, my dad, and my uncle. So so that was like it was really, it was like the first time like really seeing the the reality of my situation. So as a result, I mean, one thing that I've been doing to try to change the trajectory of my family is the next generation, my generation. So I have a lot of cousins, a lot of brothers and sisters. So, what we're trying to do is, establish that family cohesiveness that our previous generations hasn't done. So, it's not a totally dire situation, but it's just something to work through. It's definitely something I've been having to navigate through. So that's my perspective on it.
Cool. Kim, how was your... I know when you're in the dating process, you kind of get to these situations where family doesn't really show you exactly who family is. It's just like dating. I mean, it's you don't really find out who the person is until you actually say I do, and that's kind of the same case with families. When you become a legal part of the family, things sometimes come out and you kind of get taken aback and you be like, what? When was this happening? How did that happen? So like, is there anything in particular? It doesn't have to be, a certain thing or a certain situation, but was there a moment when you realized that, okay, wow, we going to have to take some different steps, and this is going to be a tough situation to, talk to my husband about, because, me and my wife's situation, we kind of dealt with the same thing, where I know where he probably, enjoyed being with his family, for what it was worth. But then, having to know that you're going to pull that away from him. How did you handle that situation?
Well, with Clean, fortunately, we kind of been on the same page because he feels the same way about his family. So in terms of course,
he loves them.
Yeah, he loves them, and I always encourage him. Hey, we need to go visit your father, your mom, stepmom, and all them down south. However, we kind of been on the same page in terms of when the kids came, if we go, for instance, when we go out of town, it's kind of like no thought about who's keeping the kids.
Yeah.
They're not going to
No
be
argument.
They're not going to be in Overtown,
right?
Which is a hood part of Miami. They're not going to stay there, and they're definitely not with his dad, because his dad has not had a kid in the house since over 30 years ago.
Yeah,
or
probably,
since
yeah.
you were in high school,
least
or no,
about
somebody
10, 15
somebody
years, yeah.
real little.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say luckily, but it's just been God's grace that we haven't had to come to that point where it's I have to talk to him and be like, babe,
Yeah.
Because I already
we've
know.
always been on the
know.
same page. So
And
No real
my
tugging.
parents are not they're not fighting on that their end either.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
They're
So
not
it makes it even easier.
Yeah.
How come you never leave the kid here? They never say.
Yeah, because I think
That's
deep down
never
they
gonna
know
happen,
where
but-
they. Yeah. So thank God that we haven't had to get to that point.
Man, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yes, it is.
Y'all, on the other hand, I think
We're gonna get to us.
Yes.
I know the Bree and Dub, I know y'all kind of actually got into a great situation when it comes to the family's beliefs, but even
Didn't start
within
that
that, I know you have difficulties and difficult situations that you've had to overcome, and you actually had to overcome them together. So, just, speak briefly on some of those situations that, because it's definitely a not an understanding on our end. We don't understand that life.
So we had two major, actually one major situation where everything wasn't okay. When we first got married, we didn't tell anybody, except for the 11 people who were at our wedding. That included. But in that caused a major rift when we had to actually go and tell them. Thank God they didn't find out accidentally.
Right. That would have been way worse.
Yes, they did.
That's terrible. When does that ever happen?
Who does that?
Just sends an email with your new last name on it. All right. But
Wow.
Hey, is this a mistake?
The shade is real.
Someone's in the bus ministry.
The shade.
But we were fortunate enough to be able to go down to my house and tell my parents face to face, and drive up to West Palm, tell Sabrina's parents face to face, and it wasn't easy. It was an instant cutoff financially, and at the time we were paying
For a period of time.
2 rents for about 6 months to make this stuff happen. But thank God for children. I think that's the restoration point that happened. Nolan was born.
Come on, man.
About 3 years into our marriage, and
That grandma
throughout that
love.
time, the relationship was tumultuous. It was rocky. We had some confrontations over Christmas. It was just like a regular black story. And then, man, the announcement of the kids came and everything went away. Everything just and I can honestly say that from that moment, because my family even had some changes. We had the first 2 deaths in our family in over 25 years. That happened right before Nolan was conceived, I guess you could say. So when it came that he was pregnant, it changed the outlook of our family. Everybody was happy. It wasn't like all that had happened. No one was like, oh, why did you do that? It wasn't cared about that no more. And where initially it was hard, and it was just Sabrina and I just against the world, so to speak. Thank God for our church family, for a bunch of other people who were married.
Amen.
Keep you
Yeah.
sane when your parents aren't feeling you like that. But
Right.
that's how we overcame. And the kids came, and that was the game changer. And ever since, man, haven't had a natural need for these kids at all. It's just been
Goodness gracious.
amazing.
And then also, even after we got married, like both parents wanted to meet each other because they didn't really get a chance due to us. And it was amazing just to see how
We weren't there, by the way. They wanted to
we
meet,
weren't there.
and they wanted to meet
they called
separately
each
at
other
Red
and
Lobster
they
by
met up.
themselves.
Yeah, they went
Red
met up to meet each other,
Wow.
instantly clicked, and I think that's when the bond happened. Like, oh my gosh, she has good parents, God-fearing parents. He has, a pastor, and the first lady, and they instantly clicked. Sorry. But then when it came to the holidays, now that everyone's on good terms, are you coming here for Thanksgiving? Or are you going down south? And then the other parents, well, are you?
Nah, that's a completely different set of problems that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll talk about that a little later.
My bad. I'm fast forwarding. Okay. My bad.
I feel you. Man, I'm trying.
Come on.
I don't know if I should tell it.
Yeah, I think you should.
Oh man, see, my baby should go to cutting. Cut.
Yeah, straight to the point.
Our situation, my family, of course, like I say, they believe in God and they know this. They know, his might. But me, my family, and we get down.
Grew up a little different.
We grew up different. We'll be in church on Sunday, and we'll be barbecuing, drinking, and smoking that same day, right after we get out of church. And we, as far as me and Adrian, our integration was a little different because me and Adrian dated for
5 years.
Was it 5 years? 5 years. So she was at every family event, all of the family reunions, everything. So they, it just instantly they, they fell in love with her. She was treated as as a sister, as a daughter. So all of that was great. And then, things took a turn. There are certain situations that happen, and my family kind of took it as, it's Adrian's fault, so it was kind of one of those situations where we kind of had to fall back. We had to make a decision that what's happening right now is not the greatest for us and us moving forward. And so when we would miss events, and my family would get upset, but it was a choice that we had to make because it wasn't lining up with the direction of our lives and where we were going, and the things that we were looking forward to the future, towards the future, and our goals and our end game. I'll let my wife explain a little bit more.
Well, what it is that, when you start out, like everyone is saying, you don't really get an opportunity to learn a person until, a little later on in the game. So everything starts out great. Everything, seems well. Everybody's getting along. There are no issues, which is phenomenal. But there are some things sometimes that the spouse is able to see that their spouse can't see because that's their family.
Right.
That's what they're used to. And so sometimes the cold word is, oh, that's just so-and-so. They always been like that.
Yeah.
So, when one spouse is able to identify, wait a minute, something's not right there. It takes a little time for the other to be receptive of the information. Mm-hmm. So I think for us in our situation, at some point, those things were revealed to both parties. And then it was like, oh, you have been saying that all along. Oh, you have been, And so as time progresses, for us, the relationship just kind of went in separate directions. For whatever reason, we can't even say, on our part. We have actually no idea whatsoever. But in the earlier stages, when it was just Al and I, it's easy to tolerate the difference of how you've been raised and what your goals are and your standards are and the things you believe in. And I can go to the house and they're just sitting watching videos where everybody just, popping and shaking all over the place. But when you have kids, there's a total difference in the environment that you want your kids around. If you're not a household of profanity, you don't want your kids around profanity. If you're not a household of alcohol, you don't want your kids around alcohol. So the moment our first child was born, there was a difference. It's like, oh, what? Wait a minute. No, don't want her seeing that. Don't want her hearing that. So if you can't come to terms between the two families of how to handle that, then that's where that rift begins. And I think ultimately that's where it all started for us, is when we, had our first child and we began to see things differently and they weren't willing to compromise. And then all it took was one incident that nobody can really put their finger on, and we separate. And you kind of go in your different directions. But the thing that's most important is, one, always love them, always always care about them, always pray for them. But there is a big difference. There's a huge difference in the dynamics of both sides.
Very big, very big. I think with us, the difference between Cleet and Kim is that I was not too receptive of not being a part of any of the family's events. And so it took some time, and it took, of course I would be like, babe, let's just go. Let's just do it. It's no big deal. You're making it a big deal. And I think that kind of took a toll on us as a couple. That's, I wouldn't say that was a big defining reason for some of our earlier problems, but to me it was almost feeling like, why we can't go? We just go. We just gonna sit down. We ain't got to worry about it. We ain't got to do that. But as you mature and you start to realize, like my wife was saying, like if you have a family and you don't want to see certain things in your kid, you start reacting differently. But in a nutshell, we made it work, and and we still together.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you real quick, Merlot. Diddy Rowe had to step out for a quick moment. It's okay, but you have any situations that may or may not have been difficult? Because you too actually fell into a great situation where your mom and dad are believers, big time helpers. Yep. Your dad is a global helper. I mean, he's always helping. The country of Haiti, all kind of places. And Brian's family is, I mean, probably the biggest family I've ever seen in the smallest area I've ever seen on earth.
Still to be determined on his actual family members.
That's way too many families. That's way too many families and way too many funerals all at the same time. Other than dealing with 1 million funerals a year, you know, out there.
Oh my God.
So boring.
No, she'll tell you.
Like that.
Brian and the family have a funeral at least every 2 weeks. Bi-weekly. It's on the schedule.
Huge family. Yeah.
It's on the schedule.
It's like
Huge family.
Brian
Since
really
we've
big.
known them, it's been
they
10,
make up
10, 11 years.
they make up 98% of Oak Hill.
Are a lot of them older?
Yes. Well, of course, the older generation is the one that's, you know.
Yeah. They're going to see the father. Yeah, they're transitioning. They're going home.
But it's a lot of them. It's a lot, yeah. So, but we've actually been blessed in the area of family. Of course, like you just mentioned, both sides God-fearing families. So we've been blessed in that area. I think the only thing is just the cultural differences have been the biggest thing for us.
IT.
Talk about it.
Yes, you know, of course, I'm Haitian, so that thing is one thing to deal with, and then
it's a
you know,
lot.
you got the Southern family, so it's that just blending the two. Of course, you got the language barrier, easy. That's the biggest one, and then with in the Haitian family, the cultural differences as far as although I am in my 30s and I'm married and I have children, you know, my parents still view me as, you know, they're kids. So they still want to have their input, you know, on marriage, on my children.
Yeah.
And so Brian's like, okay,
Yeah,
you know
Brian.
you're the woman now, you know, but I'm like, it's just out of respect, you know, still to this point, I don't like talking back to my parents. That's how they raised me. Don't talk back. Don't, you know, whatever. That's strict. Island, you know.
Yeah, just say okay.
Yeah, just say okay. And I still tend to do that even when I disagree. Even if I'm not going to do what they tell me, I'm like, okay. Brian, he hates it, you know, of course. I'm like, okay, I might not agree with him. I'm just saying okay, just to keep the peace, and I keep it moving. So that's been one thing that we're kind of getting over. But other than that, it's been a really, really good thing. I've loved his family from the moment I met them. They've been wonderful to me. Aww. Wonderful to my girls. They love them. Absolutely love them. Even though it's 5 granddaughters, they love them all. So
Good deal. Bree kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but like, what is how did y'all handle? Well, Clete, we understand. But for everyone else, how did you?
Wasn't really a difficult decision.
I mean, it's not.
But we still incorporated, like, we still decided, like, for us, like, even though we would go to, like, my family's for holidays to be, like, at the, you know, to spend the majority of the time, we would still make time to still go, you know, down south to where his parents are and visit each one.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what my
So
question
we
is.
still- yeah.
How did everyone start to? Because listen, that became a big deal for me and my wife. The holiday travel
Oh, bro,
between two families.
Oh, but we matured.
come on now.
Yeah.
So
So which
just-
one to do? Which one you go to? Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, so like Kim said, we would have, like, let's say it's Thanksgiving, we would go to her parents' place for Thanksgiving, but then we would just go and show face to my parents, you know, not, you know, just to spend a couple hours with them just to say hello.
Right.
Even
Just
in the
some
earlier,
respect.
even in the earlier days, we actually went to, remember my uncle,
Uncle's house.
Yeah. So we did a little bit of that too. My uncle had out of all of my family members, my uncle had like a family unit back in the day. It's kind of the kids all in college and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're not together anymore. It's another story.
Just bought a
But
house too.
Huh?
He just bought a house too.
I saw that. Yeah.
Fresh.
Yeah. And he's remarried, so he's doing good. He's doing really good in life. So I'm really proud of him. But yeah, so early days we had a little bit of that, you know, because we had a little family structure there. So, and I was used to that before I started dating Kim. So, you know, I conceded for first few years to go to her parents' house for Thanksgiving. But then one year, because we had been going to her place, we would do this year we go this way, next year we'll go this way. So we did that a little bit, and especially around Christmas time, early days, we would go. I'll be in her parents' place for Thanksgiving, but then Christmas time I would try to go and spend a little bit more time with my family. So we try to do it that way. And then once the kids kind of came in the picture, it was like, listen, you're going to get what we could give you.
You don't get a phone call.
Yeah. Right. And
you better FaceTime me.
Yeah. And in this stage in life for my parents, it's just been easier to go to West Palm and spend time with her family. And then, like I said, we just go and spend those couple hours with my mom and my dad.
Cool.
So it's more travel to do it, because they're not. My mom and dad isn't together, so you got to go to this house. You got to
Yeah.
It's too much. So.
What you got, Dub?
Well, we our first couple of years in marriage,
No kids.
With no kids, and honestly, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I needed leadership through this process, and we had our pastor to help us navigate. Because, like we mentioned, we have two great families, and our families both want our presence. So we had to come into the holiday season knowing what we were going to do. We couldn't wait till the holiday season to decide. So our first after they knew, our first Christmas, we did this whole we gonna go see everybody thing.
Yeah.
And it was the most exhausting experience ever. And I told Sabrina, I was like, babe, we're not doing this again.
And then we did it the following year again.
And then we did it again. Because, we just tried to, trying to honor and do that stuff. But honestly, it just got tiring. Like West Palm and Fort Lauderdale, although it's closer than most places, still an hour drive on the road, then you spending time here, then you pick up, you gotta go see this uncle, and then you go see this person, go see that person. And I got to a point, man, I was like, look, I'm married, and all my people in my family I know who are married, people come to them, or we congregate in a central place. So I think it was our third year being married, or fourth year, we went down to the Thorntons for Thanksgiving, and my parents came up. My mom's side of the family normally does something, but they weren't doing something that year, and they started coming up for Thanksgiving. And all of a sudden, that became a tradition where my family would come up to her families for Thanksgiving. I was like, this is great. I ain't got to waste no extra gas. I get to see everybody. I get to spend time. My parents love her parents and her family, so they all spending time. It's all love. So that was good. But then Christmas came the challenge, right? Because Christmas is that everybody wants to spend a lot of time, but we made a decision to always be in agreement going into Christmas. So the first year we had my parents come up here for Christmas. That the first year we decided. So my parents came up. The second year, this was I think the boys' first year being born. Their parents came up, which was like huge because they don't ever leave Palm Beach for Christmas. Absolutely not. That's just. But everybody came to our house, and it was great. That kid grace, boy, we just operating under that child grace.
Walk it out.
And then following that, we've just made the decision every year that we're going to do what we want, right? So whatever, if that means that we're going to go down to her parents, we're going to go down to her parents. If we're going down to my parents, we're going down to my parents.
Right.
Whatever it is, though, is what she and I decide. Because I'm not trying, we don't try to have this whole, oh, you need to come see me. Well, I live in Orlando. You can come see me too. So
we're in the vacation capital.
I also got kind of easier when I actually got like a real job, and I had to work after Christmas because some of y'all had the
December
whole 3
26th?
weeks off at the end of the year.
Ooh, salted.
So yeah, I'm being petty. So I was like, I can't come down because I go to work the next day after Christmas. And I said, I ain't traveling. I said, I'm not going to be tired because it's just exhausting.
Yeah, and people...
Especially when we start having kids. I was like, nah.
Yeah, we make the mistake of thinking that we're dishonoring our parents so we don't make the 3-hour drive down, right, to turn right back around and make another 3-hour drive with kids, and we have to work the next day. So at work, we're just going to be just knocked out, and it's like, I honor, no.
Just to sit there and be in their presence.
Yeah, go ahead and be a good steward over this job. Everybody else has time off, right?
Right.
So can y'all come meet us halfway? You know what I mean? And our in-laws and my parents have been extremely receptive. They've never put any undue pressure. Last year, they knew we were doing stuff up here. They knew they wanted to give up stuff for the kids, so they made the drive. with all the stuff in. They came up the Saturday before Christmas and brought all the stuff, so the kids had everything that they needed. So they've been, man, I got no complaints about my family dynamics to that end.
So hopefully in the future we'll be traveling for Thanksgiving.
Amen.
And Christmas. So
Going to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh man,
For 1 year, yeah.
That's outstanding. Not interested, buddy. Yeah, our holiday travel was ridiculous. When we first, I mean, ridiculous. We were really dumb. Now that I have opportunity to sit and think about what we're doing, we were dumb.
Even before kids.
Oh my goodness. We would go to my mom's house on Thanksgiving, and then we would actually alternate. We would go to Adrian's mom, and then we go to my mom's. We kind of switch back and forth depending on what we felt like doing, or who was doing something big. But the Christmas holiday, oh man, we would go to my mom's house, which is in Palm Bay, which is in the Melbourne area.
Yep.
We would go down there
Christmas Eve.
and on Christmas Eve, and then we would stay till Christmas morning, and then we would get in the car, pack all of the presents up, drive to Jacksonville.
Oh, Jesus.
Christmas Day, spend Christmas Day, and then like 2 days from there, drive back to our home in Orlando, stay for 1 day, and then drive back to my mom's house
For New Year's.
And spend the next 2 days, because we would always have the day after New Year's off. And man, we did that for what, 6 years?
Maybe longer, because we did it while we were dating.
Yep.
Then once we got married,
We was
and
shacking
then
up, y'all.
Once we had Des,
Who has it?
probably until Des was about 3 or 4 years old, and we put a stop to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest thing was both sides of the family were big on events. So my family was big on events, and we used to have what I would call the Publix commercial Thanksgiving, where everything's decorated, decked out. The table looks amazing. That's how I grew up. And so coming in with Al, his family had their own tradition of how they did things as well. They're somewhat Publix commercial.
What else they did? Was it with Dixie?
Watch your mouth. We do it up, babe.
Yeah. You do. You just don't do it like we did, but it's all right. But, everybody enjoyed
Gonna hold my
events.
tongue.
Both sides enjoyed events. So what that meant was they wanted us there. Yeah. So before kids, it was a free for all. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we'll be there, hands down. There was food. We were still in college, so we went mostly to eat and enjoy family. But after a couple years, I told him, I said, we can't do that anymore. Yeah. It's just too much traveling there, traveling back. It's draining. It's aggravating. And then when the kids come and play, of course, see, our families were different. Mm-hmm. His family would be the one, well, aren't y'all coming over here? When y'all coming over here? Well, can't you do this? And my family was never really like that so much. They just wanted us to be there, and really did, feel bad if we didn't show up. But we had to make the decision, and it was a hard decision, so that's why we did both. Mm. But there was a time when we had to sit them down and say, no, we're not doing that anymore. We'll do Thanksgiving here, because once we had our own family, we wanted to start our own tradition. I want to bring up our kids the way we want to do Thanksgiving or the way we want to do Christmas. So then we just established a plan. Okay, well, that's it. Once we decided and we agreed, nothing else mattered. And we just let everybody else know exactly what we were going to do.
Straight up.
And if you didn't like it, you knew where we lived.
Come on down.
You can come stay with us. So
straight up. Come on, bring it on home, Merlo.
All right. Excuse me. For holiday travel, it's been pretty easy because we've been doing Oak Hill for the most part, just because it's been closer. And of course, it is 1,000 people. It is 1,000 people. I mean, the food makes it easy because the cooking is phenomenal.
Come on now.
Come on. It's Southern cooking.
Delicious.
And plus, they have the grandkids, so it was easy for Tori when she was first, because obviously my parents is just my parents. So, but now I am starting to turn a corner. My parents have never pressured me to come to spend holidays with them, even though we have. But they've never pressured. They've never asked, "Are you guys coming?" Never. The whole time we've been married. But as they're getting older, which they, of course, are older now, and I'm actually starting to feel like I want to spend more time with them, especially, I've had multiple friends, friends that I grew up with, friends now that have lost at least one parent, one parent. So I'm like, man, now I feel like I really want to do more with them, while I can. So I feel like now I want to spend more time with them, more holidays with them. Not every holiday, of course, because we can't, but I feel it's important to do that. I feel like I haven't spent enough holidays with them and they haven't had a chance to really see the girls. So I think that's something that we're definitely going to start doing more of.
That's good.
Yeah, man. The overall theme is that once you become one, y'all got to stay united.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what works for you and follow through with it. And you can't worry about the repercussions.
Nope.
Because they're going to happen, regardless of whether you believe that you're doing the right thing or if you feel like you're doing the wrong thing. It's still going to happen. So you can't please everybody. I want to go ahead and transition into the next topic that I wanted to talk about, and it's also it's tough on us right now because every person, every generation goes around and saying that we had it the worst. Oh, it was tough for us to bring up kids. I personally believe that in this time, this is our greatest time.
Yeah.
And it is the greatest difficulty.
Yeah.
Bringing up kids, especially with internet, the rampant bullying right now, social media, of course, and even just regular television, that they're being inundated with so much negativity that it's really a task on us as parents now because it's so accessible.
Yep.
The ability for a kid to pick up something and just learn how to make a bomb.
That's crazy.
Or learn how to, load a gun, or, learn kids learning how to fight by watching, watching videos on YouTube, which isn't a bad thing if it just stuck to hand-on-hand combat.
Right.
But we're in the age now where everyone feels like they have to one-up each other. So it was just, I wanted to talk to you guys all together just to try to find out, how do you feel about, what's your take right now on, raising a kid and basically, like I said, in the social media internet age, just talk to me first, just talking about social media. Like, how do you feel like you're going to be able to protect your kid when it comes to the social media outlet right now?
One, I think, is just being like, keeping like communication open with your children.
Monitoring.
Monitoring, like we have at church, with our marriage ministry, having heart-to-hearts with the family, and like just keeping open lines of communication.
Open dialogue.
Oh, yeah, open dialogue to the kids. And like, I know we've talked about it a little bit. I know our kids are not at the point right now where they're on social media, would have social media profiles. Right. However,
Nolan does.
Actually,
Nolan does not. Don't
Nolan has some.
Well, I take that back. They do have social media profiles,
Nolan
but we
has
are
burner
running
accounts.
them right now. But I know
I see Nolan on a dating site.
Got burner account.
Watch your mouth.
We talked about it a little bit already, and it's just like, I know for us as parents, we want to make sure that we're like on the cutting edge and know like all the things that are out there. Mm-hmm. Like for example, like I know I don't even know what the name of it is, but there's another social media app that's similar to Instagram, where like if the kid's not supposed to be on Instagram, they could get on this app so the parents won't know that they're on that app. Mm-hmm. So it's just being
secret covert
apps. So like the parents have to know like all the stuff, be relevant and know what's going on. So like you could be like one up on your kids and know.
Yeah, I mean, and the benefit, I'm privy to technology, so
nerd.
So you know, that's one of the things that I believe is going to be integral for us. Just knowing what technology's out there, what monitoring technology's out there. I always joke around about it, but I'm serious. Like I'm literally gonna have microchips on my kids so I can know where they at. And not that I don't trust them. It's just I don't trust the world.
Not the skin, no, not.
We talked about this before. I'm not sure if this was. I'm not sure if this was one of the ones that we ended up scrapping. But we talked about how when we were kids, we didn't have any supervision. You walk out the door and it's look. Make sure you in here by the sundown.
Yeah.
So it's grind all day. You go out there. You hated coming in the house because you knew your mama was gonna say, if you come in this house, you're staying in the house.
Yeah.
So and we were saying how we used to walk 2 and 3 blocks just to go hang out with our friends and go play football, play basketball, kickball or something.
Yeah.
And
walk to the park.
We don't have that. We don't have that ability anymore. That's why I say this is our greatest difficulty is trying to raise kids in this time because with like I was saying with the social media and the ability for predators to actually access your child, because most kids once they hit 10 years old, even some I see 7, 8 years old, they have cell phones.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much protection you put on that cell phone, they can get to you. They can pose as a 9-year-old kid, and which we've seen shows like To Catch a Predator, and other shows of that nature where these people are posing as a 10-year-old kid or a 13-year-old kid, and then you find out it's a grown man. But by the time you find out it's a grown man, it's too late.
Yeah. And like Kim said, it's like it's really important to keep that open dialogue with your kids because then you're able to spot. Character change.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You start to see, hey, you acting a little weird this week. Let me just take everything from you. You know what I mean? You just shut them down real quick, restart them. So, you got to.
Like your computer?
Hey, it's the truth.
Control, Alt, Delete.
You got to strip all the distractions and make them reset, Honestly, I feel like I need to do that a lot of times myself, So, I mean, it's important to just... Like you said, if you can catch it. I think a lot of times where these parents fail is they
not paying attention.
You get so caught up in whatever.
Yeah, I think that although now is a great challenge to be a parent, I don't want to diminish what it was like for our parents parenting us and their parents parenting them. My dad grew up throughout the civil rights movement where you had whites-only bathrooms. So talk about a challenge. Your child can't go outside. But look, if your child looks at a person of a different color, another way, they could die. You know what I mean? So I think that is as great of a challenge as we have now. Do we have access to more information? Absolutely. And we have to adapt. We have to make sure that we are doing what's necessary to protect our kids. That's what we're here for. And I think the greatest form of doing that is what Cleet mentioned and Kim mentioned about talking to your kids frequently. If they're not talking to one parent because they're scared of that parent, fine. Let them talk to the other parent because at the end of the day, your kid is going to be expressive to someone or some group of people. And honestly, it's tough for me not to bring in the spiritual component because I can't do much once my child leaves my house, right? Mm-hmm. I have to. There's nothing much I can, in terms of do much. I can't touch them. I can look at the video screens at the daycare, but when they go to their new school, in kindergarten, there are no video screens.
Right.
So I can't look at them. I can't touch them. I can't be calling the teachers every 2 minutes. So there has to be an aspect of prayer that I'm using to say, look, all right, Lord, this is your child that you've given me an opportunity to parent. Protect them. Make them wise. And then I'm going to do my part by saying, hey, what'd you do at school today?
That's right.
Who'd you talk to?
Yep.
Hey, what's going on? And even if you're not talking to me, go talk to mommy. Like, whatever the case may be, I think that is the single, when you're talking about parents who are quote-unquote failing, that's what they're failing at. They're not talking to their kids. Like, and they end up hearing their kid did something, and it's like, nah, my kid would never do that. You don't know your kid.
Yeah, your kid
Like,
been wilding out for the last 3 years.
Because you're not having conversations with them, you're not spending no time with them, and therefore they do something, and you're like, how could they do that? You know, and it's because kids let you know. You know, they'll tell you what signs. You know, if your kid is killing cats, you.
Whoa.
That's a sign. It's not just it's a phase. No.
That's a problem.
Those are psychological issues that we need to address early on, and then all of a sudden, the kid comes to school and he's murdering people. It's like, okay, no, this was a pattern, right? And but in order to recognize that pattern and to be a fantastic parent, you have to parent. You got to communicate, and you got to know what's going on.
Yeah, man.
So my question is, to a failing parent, do you think parents are failing intentionally, or is it a byproduct of the environment that we're currently in? There are a lot of distractions that parents have.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct.
It could be great intentions. You could literally be working 70 hours a week to maintain a standard of living for your kid. With at the same time, you're diminishing the interaction that's necessary. But your intentions were good because you're trying to keep food. You know, you're trying to maintain a lifestyle of having, you could say, even basic necessities for your kid. So it's not like you're intentionally neglecting your kid. It's literally as a direct result of you having to work an enormous amount of hours. So I would say that I don't think parents are intentionally failing, but there has to be measurable, actionable, and intentional focus on kids. It has to be literally a whole life approach to where I can't just be focused on my job. I can't just be focused on X, Y, and Z. My kids are a priority.
Yes.
And it has to be scheduled. It has to be intentional.
Yes.
And, because I think it's unfortunate, but a lot of kids fall by the wayside. But a lot of times, man, for the parents, it's not intentional. They have good intentions. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree 100% with that, because it's the case old thing where you're working. I'm trying to do, I'm trying to really, really provide for my family. It reminds me of this Little Giants, right? Little Johnny's dad was always working, never came to a football game, never scored a touchdown. The moment that his dad comes to the game, he comes running from the airplane, Johnny scored a touchdown. And that was a super, you know what I mean? It's like, it was more important not that he was playing football, but that he's playing football and his dad is there. I'm thankful to literally my entire life, my entire professional or amateur career at sports, my parents were at every single thing. If my mom wasn't there, my dad was at everything. My mom came to some stuff. She wasn't,
Right. She wasn't a big sports fan.
You know what I'm saying? But it was... She's a huge sports fan. She just, she's not going to be sitting outside in the sun for 3.5 hours all the time.
Basically, your team sucked, is what she's saying.
Even if I was good. But it's I think that portion, just being there for them to just see you is crucial. They trust you, right? And if they trust you, they'll be able to communicate what's necessary.
Man. I knew this topic was going to hit home with a lot of us, and then I knew that everyone had a different situation, but I didn't realize how similar all of our situations were, and that's what I love about this, man. I love this conversation, and we want to keep it going. We had to abruptly stop, man. So, don't fret, because part 2 is definitely coming soon. We had to stop it, man, because we were gonna be going way too long. And I know y'all have a cutoff time when you listening to this. Y'all already know. So we ain't wanna bombard you with too much information up front. But like I said, stay tuned, because part 2 is coming, and we're going to get into, raising kids in this day and age, and, going with the different trials and tribulations. So, like I said, if you enjoyed this first part 2 is going to be just the same, if not better. So stay tuned to O4D. That's open for discussion if you don't know. We out. Part 2 coming.